Okay, great. Good day and good night, everyone. Thank you very much for watching our panel. Also, thanks to the EDCON organizers for giving us such a great chance to discuss the metaverse together. Today, we are very honored to have 5 very great guests as our panelists. I think most of them are, every one of them are the most important pioneers in the metaverse. So first, please allow me to make a very quick introduction. I will start from the sequence in my screen. So first is Yat Yat is the CEO and co-founder of Animoca brands, and Herbie partner at Infinity Ventures Crypto, and Roham co-founder and the CEO of Dapper Labs, and Beryl the co-founder of YGG. So thank you guys for joining our panel. So our first will let's give us everyone several minutes to give a self-introduction. I think it's still started from Yat.
Hi there, great pleasure to be here. My name is Yat. As co-founder and chairman of Animoca Brands, we're a company that is very focused on basically building digital property rights through non-fungible tokens. We have our early beginnings to thank for, Roham's work with CryptoKitties, which was really sort of how I think most of us started in the space. And actually, we became a publisher of CryptoKitties. Actually, I was looking back in January of 2018, which is kind of insane how long ago that seems now, which is pretty awesome. And since then, just to fast forward, we've really doubled down in that space from 2018 onwards. We've made over 80 investments, but we are not really an investor in the sense that we don't have a fund. Our most high sort of well-known portfolios, Axie Infinity, OpenSea, obviously also with Flow and Dapper Labs, Bitski, Wax, and a whole bunch of others. But our own projects are the Sandbox, F1 Delta Time, the Rev ecosystem, Quid, Gamey, and a whole bunch of other things as well. So we view ourselves really as someone that's helping to build up the sort of the open metaverse and the open asset ecosystem. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Herbie. I'm a partner at IVC Infinity Ventures Crypto, which is essentially the crypto arm of the largest Japan-based venture fund. We are a pretty new fund, and this crypto arm is essentially built together with CP Group from Thailand and also the SoftBank China's family. We are betting very heavily into GameFi space, and we also do general DeFi and some of the more fundamental layer protocols as well. We wish that we could bring some of the angles and our insights to help some of the great companies and great entrepreneurs to really land into Asia and really to empower them to expand there.
Awesome. Hey everybody, my name is Roham. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Dapper Labs. Dapper Labs, as you heard Yat say, we're the original developers of CryptoKitties. We wrote the first non-fungible token standard back in summer 2017. But more recently, I mean, our company's mission is to bring 1 billion people to blockchain and sort of let them experience the benefits of decentralization. And so we've gone fully mainstream, and for the last year and a half, 2 years, been building NBA Top Shot on top of the Flow blockchain, and that's something I'd love to talk to everyone about today.
Hi everyone, I'm Beryl. I'm the co-founder of Yield Guild Games, looking after finance. So Yield Guild Games is a gaming guild. It functions as it's structured as a decentralized autonomous organization. We invest in a number of play to earn NFTs. And we look into leasing them out to our community of players. We're looking into investing in more play to earn games. We've invested in more than 10 games as of today. So some of them would be F1 Delta Time, Sandbox, Splinterlands, Nifty Island, Ember Sword. And we have a number of more games that we're currently looking at.
I'm Evan, a co-founder of Genies. Genies is the world's largest avatar technology company. We're driving the adoption of avatars through society and culture. We give a way for celebrities to enter the metaverse through our avatar agency, where you'll frequently see celebrities like Justin Bieber, Shawn Mendes, Rihanna, and others posting their genie as a way to express themselves in the metaverse. And later this year, in partnership with Dapper Labs, we are launching a avatar wearable marketplace where customers can buy NFTs of avatar wearables to equip their genie. So for example, you could buy a spacesuit related to IP that Genies works with those IP holders for to equip your genie and then use it across the Genies API and SDK network. For example, we're integrated into Giphy right now, which lets you use your genie across TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and so forth. And we're excited to continue leading a decentralized avatar standard and continuing to build out what we're doing on the Flow blockchain and offering avatar wearables as NFTs, where we're NFTs with utility.
Okay, thank you, guys. Yes, I think I'm Kai from S&D Capital. So we're investing in Animoca, Dapper Labs, and Genies as well. So let's get into the topic today. So Metaverse has a very long history of decades, and also the concept of NFT can track back to 2017 with the born of today's very hot CryptoPunks and also CryptoKitties. However, until last year, that we know that the NBA Top Shot by Dapper Labs and Flow and the Roblox finally bring these two concepts to general populations, and also start merging the crypto world and the real world together. And just recently, as we know that the play to earn in X Infinities and also the famous guild YGG is lead us to a new way of play and collaborations in this new digital and virtual world. I think today we know that as we think that avatars, NFTs, GameFi, everything is super hot. So we would like to discuss, especially in each panel, each guest's opinion that where are we now? Is that the crypto and the NFT in the metaverse in the current 30s? And also what will be the future looks like with this I think lots of people believe this is a very big things happens. Okay, so the first question, because we are talking about the metaverse, so there's the first question is how to identify and differentiate a metaverse versus like today's like no matter an open games or open platform, or even like people are talking about the super apps. So we still start from Yat, okay? Yeah,
no problem. Very briefly, I actually don't really consider the metaverse as something that is strongly differentiated versus a platform or a game, because ultimately we think of a metaverse as a place where we share virtual space. The only thing is that the current sort of virtual spaces, be it Facebook or be it sort of Roblox, are very imperfect ones, right? It's the shared spaces in history, whether these were medieval kingdoms of time or we were run by dictators in history, were also shared spaces, but they were just very imperfect and not very good for the people that were living there. So I think the way that we think of, maybe the right kind of metaverse, the kind of place is the kind of place we really want to be, right? Which has to be sort of free and open and interoperable. And so I think, with blockchain now, we're seeing that evolution where we're basically moving from, primitive metaverses, as it were. I mean, I used to play multi-user dungeons back in the late 80s, right? I bought my first virtual item, I think maybe in 91 from a mud called Perilous Realms. And that space was, I was texting and chatting, and making commands literally on the keyboard, go left, go right, right? But it was as real to me as a virtual plane is right now, or as a physical one, because I made real friends, I made real connections, I had fun, and I value the assets, even though they were entirely text-based. So as far as I was concerned, that meta plane was just as real to me. It's just, maybe a more stronger visual experience. But at the end of the day, we don't really own that space. And I think we're still early, but maybe, how do you differentiate? I think for me, the differentiation is really about what is the place that is actually really fair to you and your time, is where I think the kind of metaverses we want to be, and to blockchain and non-fungible tokens. And I'll leave it with that.
Thanks. Herbie?
I pretty much agree with what Yat just said about it. I mean, like for us at the current stage, like some of the super apps and platform business, just like Facebook, like Roblox, they're like still like very primitive metaverse. If you really have to say a real like a differentiation, with a with a perfect world, the ideal situation is something that I was thinking, the interoperability. For now, like a lot of the primitive metaverse, they are like super close ecosystem. For example, say your identity in different games, or your identity on Facebook, on Roblox, or Instagram, Snapchat. They are like they just stay within the app, within their own platform. It can't be transferred. It can't be using. It can't be transferable to other places. So that actually doesn't really reflect your entire profile. So I mean, so that and that's actually something we were thinking. That's something really fascinating about crypto and about blockchain technology itself. It really helps with the improvement of to make everything like more interoperable, and more transparent, and to really have people to own their like own profile and their own personal data and etc. So yeah, that's some of my personal opinion on that.
Yeah, I want to just pick up on that, because I think that's what's most interesting here, is that because of blockchain, all the lines between these kind of categories are being completely blended, right? And it's up to the customer to decide, hey, what do I want to do with my thing? And if I want to put an NFT, if I want to just take the NFT and trade it on the marketplace, I can do that. If I want to put it on my Genie and show it off on Twitter or TikTok, or take it to Top Shot, or whatever, that's my choice. And in a sense, all these different platforms can read the ownership on the blockchain, and can have a more a sort of platform, a way to coordinate with each other that's free of platform risk, as opposed to the current sort of setup between the different tech giants. And so that's what I think is most interesting here, is sort of taking the breaking those walls down and basically putting power both in the hands of customers as well as potentially independent developers that can build tool sets on top of these products. Right now, 20-30 companies are built on top of NBA Top Shot, and I bet they're all going to integrate Genies the second they can get their hands on what the metadata standard and all these things look like. And so that's powerful, because that's an ecosystem that can get it's sort of organic, and it doesn't rely on us or our companies to sort of exist and then compound and be successful.
I think going. I think Ivan, you can go. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so going off of what Roham said, that we view, let's say, an open game or a super app as one component within a metaverse rather than an independent metaverse, that we're striving to get to a point where there's interoperability, new ownership models, and the ability to remix ownership. So what does that mean? You buy an NFT of an avatar wearable on Genies. You modify it, you can then resell it, which means that you're inheriting the ownership or the copyright from who you bought it from, adjusting it and reselling it on. You're then able to put that on your Genie, use it in Top Shot, use it in another game, use it in Genies, use it on TikTok, wherever that might be. So we view NFTs or the blockchain as powering a new dimension of ownership that was never possible in the physical world. Like, yes, you could always go and buy a t-shirt in a store, modify it and resell it, but that really wouldn't be practical. There would be no profit margin, no ability to do that. So the blockchain and crypto is empowering what people have dreamed of for a long time in a new way that enables everyone to be creative together and reach new frontiers.
So I guess like everyone really summarized it very well, and I do agree that it's really about interoperability, about like real ownership in this new realm or world. But when I first heard about like the metaverse and the rise of NFT gaming, the first impression I have is Neil Stephenson's book of Snow Crash, as well as Wreck-It Ralph, right? So Wreck-It Ralph is a character, and you could actually interoperate this particular avatar with other economies, right, and platforms. And so I envision the metaverse to be a different world or a different realm where anyone can actually coexist with other inhabitants, right? So whether you're anonymous, pseudonymous, you're still able to really spend time and really live in this new world. So we at YGG see the metaverse as a place to live where you can actually work and have jobs and to earn a living as well in this new realm.
Cool. I think we already see that every guest have such a deep insight of the metaverse. So everyone actually answered a lot of things about my second question. It makes me very embarrassing. So my second question actually, we already mentioned that the Roblox currently as an ancestor of the metaverse has its own economies and all. And also Facebook and other giants are looking into this area, try to build their own metaverse. So we always wonder that based on the crypto and NFT, what will be the difference and what will extra things we can add on this metaverse? I think because all the guests covers a lot of the ideas about this ones. So maybe we can quickly give, from Yvonne back to, from Beryl and Yvonne back to that, everyone can give some like highlights, what kind of 1 or 2 opinions you think it's most important for the difference, just some highlights. Yeah. We can go for Beryl first. Yeah, sorry.
Can you rephrase the question? So the difference between?
Yeah, I think my question is, so what will be the metaverse with crypto and NFT, no matter compared to the metaverse from the current internet giant like Facebook or Roblox? What would the difference looks like? Or another thing we can emphasize on is what will be crypto and NFT will be add on this metaverse.
So at least for us here at like YGG, when we actually look into investing in a lot of these like NFT assets and games, we really look into the component of real ownership of these particular assets. These assets should be able to trade. There's some sort of land economy and being able to play a particular game and earn a living. So we also emphasize the ability to, because the assets are actually theirs, they should be able to own most of the earnings within the platform. So when they use their NFTs within the game, they should actually earn most of the proceeds. As compared to, for example, Roblox, the Roblox application takes most of the proceeds whenever they actually trade a particular asset. So it's very different from NFTs in a sense, because if I actually own this particular asset and I trade it with somebody else, I get most of the proceeds. So that is the biggest difference that I see between metaverse or play to earn games and play to earn NFTs versus a platform like Roblox.
On Genies, we're working on decentralized ownership. And as Roham mentioned, we're removing platform risk. So the user owns the underlying asset and can take it between platforms, can create remixes, and they're owning it. They can make derivatives, earn income from those derivatives, and so forth. So when you look at the ecosystem that Genies is building, your avatar becomes your virtual representation of yourself in a way that's not possible in the real world. Genies makes its avatars fantastical. So we're not trying to make a one-to-one representation of you, but rather we're enabling you to be whoever you imagine you might be. Whether that means we're going to be selling, for example, avatar wearables of spirit animal helmets, where you could be a frog, a lion, a tiger, whatever it might be. So that becomes you, and you know you own it, as opposed to having an avatar or some other digital representation in a closed platform like a Roblox, where you're beholden to that company. You can then buy additional avatar wearables, and maybe in the future, there can be interoperability between avatar standards. So you can buy an avatar wearable from Genies and mix it in with what another avatar company is selling. IP owners can enable derivatives to be spawned, and on and onward. So it's really becoming a foundation of that you own yourself in the real world. We're enabling you to do that in the metaverse or in the virtual world, while in a free-to-play game, for example, that wouldn't be as possible because you're ultimately a customer for the company that's producing the game.
I'll take the thing I want to highlight is just accessibility. I mean, if you think about it, Facebook, Fortnite, all of these platforms, of course, have internal economies, but those economies are sort of they're fully controlled by the reason they exist is because those platforms have lock-in and the trust of their users. But with NFTs, the trust kind of comes from the blockchain to an extent where even a developer that doesn't have a large following to start with can create something that's interesting and reach a community halfway across the world that can come in and be able to adopt their product without any need for signing up for special kinds of payment systems, et cetera, et cetera. And so it makes it incredibly accessible, and that's what I'm most excited about. Trends that are started by designers or developers in India going viral in Japan and then crossing over to the US, nobody having to think about currency conversion, nobody have to think about different sort of banking systems, et cetera, not being compatible. And in fact, nobody having to think about, well, what happens if this developer goes away, because those assets are permanent and potentially can kind of remix into a wider universe that will eventually exist. Today we have a few 100,000 people using NFTs, between kind of Top Shot and Axie and these things. And what happens when that's a few 100 million and you have millions of developers building products and tools for them? And that's the world we're excited about. And I wanted to mention, we're, as Dapper Labs, we see our company's role as bringing kind of new users into this ecosystem. But the thing we're most excited about is exactly this, that it's so accessible for developers like all the people watching this to be able to create the next big product, whether that lets people use their NFTs, which actually too few people are doing that, or that creates new kinds of NFTs, products and services. And I wanted to plug in our little investment effort, since a couple of folks talked about that. So Dapper Labs, we recently set up a corporate venture fund beginning of this year, around February, March, and we've made already 59 investments, just seeing incredible entrepreneurs all around the world, very sort of international focus, from Asia to Africa to of course Europe and North America. So very much inviting folks that are interested in this space to jump in now, because that's, I think, the biggest opportunity is accessibility. And also accessibility to building something big, right? Not just a plugin on Roblox or a plugin on Facebook or something, but something that can be independent, but can start as something small and kind of compound.
Yeah, I really agree with the accessibility this point. And to add a few more points, that especially with the current like play to earn model, is especially they're like getting super popular in Southeast Asia, like, and other like emerging markets. We are actually foreseeing this model actually attracted a lot of the non-crypto users, and through that they're actually like helping a lot with the penetration of crypto adoption. We could even probably foresee potential financial inclusion it might be like saying like quite big, but because a lot oftentimes, like when we're talking about crypto, when we're talking about blockchain, a lot of people like were thinking about like the some of the goal, some of the spirit is really to bank the unbanked people, right? So we're thinking the right of such play to earn trend can actually potentially facilitate with the financial payment, with the crypto payment in Southeast Asia countries. Just like China, as we Chinese people, we don't have a legacy of credit card, so that the mobile payment can actually accelerate that fast and that getting that popular in mainland China. And get back to the question. So some of the difference I'd say for platforms like Facebook, like Roblox, or not probably not Roblox, but say like Facebook, still like in the current like internet industry, the user experience is actually like still super good. For blockchain, a lot like for some of the blockchain games, or they are not as smooth as the internet product yet. And especially like for companies like Facebook, they put a lot of efforts into VR and into a lot of the hardware development and etc. But it's not a conflict to each other, but instead it's more complementary, I'd say. Yeah.
Great. Well, I mean, agree with everything that's been said here. But maybe dialing it back a little bit into sort of ultimately, what's the difference between the Facebook and the Robloxes versus what everyone's building here? And I think it boils down ultimately to who owns the data, right? If you sort of draw it back to it, when we are actually using these platforms, our most valuable resource, which is our time, because it is after all most scarce because it is limited for each and every one of us, is actually farmed in the form of these data blocks, which is perhaps the most valuable resource on Earth. And that resource is what powers, the tech giants of today. And they are the reasons why they are trillion-dollar organizations, and everyone else is not. So, they're basically, the problem is that the data that they're farming belongs entirely to them. And because they've created these perfect parallels, like great user interfaces, we willingly gave up essentially all of our data to them. And in many cases, we don't understand it. So the thing about NFTs here, broadly thinking, with all the things that everyone is building here, is they may be imperfect in the same way that democracy freedoms are imperfect, right? In fact, some of us may prefer to live in a place where things are organized really well, really controlled, and everything's nice and smooth. But we don't have rights in those places because it is controlled by one person, or by one entity, or by one government. It doesn't really matter. Choose the parallel you want. Right? So it may seem like a seamless experience. Whereas if you live in something that's like a democracy, or that's respects your human liberties or your rights, it's messy, as democracies are, but it gives power back to the end users. And so that's the parallel and the power of what we think non-fungible tokens really need to be. Because as we spend time in these, our time is rewarded through the ownership of this data. That data then basically is shared across these communities. And these data can then be used in many ways, whether this is in games like Axie Infinity with Play to Earn, or Sandbox through owning pieces of land, or NBA Top Shot with sort of assets I'm creating. Who owns that data? The data is actually owned by the end user completely. The platform plays a role in facilitating it, but it no longer controls everything around that. So I think in this context, we think this is the big difference between Facebook, Roblox, or any one of those companies. They are the kings of this sort of digital feudal environment, and they will not want to give it up. When Mark Zuckerberg said, we're the next metaverse, he can see the threat. He understands what it is all about. He can see his kingdom under attack. And so he wants to control. And I can't think of any king that has willingly given up his kingdom. So I think there's a fight coming along, but I think, we're on the right side of this fight, all of us here. Thanks.
I think time flies. So I will jump to quick questions. Two questions. So first one, I think today we have to talk about the NFT avatars, CryptoPunks apes. So my question will be, will this be a new social symbols or entities? And my question will be, what do you think about what will be the reason that it becomes so popular today, and what will be the future for this new trend? It is a bubble, it's a new social phenomenon. I think because of the limit of time, I will leave this question for Ivan, because you are the experts of avatars and the Genies who building the super cool avatars. And heads up, I think everybody should looking forward to the online of Genius apps as well. And also this question for Ivan and Herbie. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so we view the ability to express yourself in a way that's not possible in the physical world as an enduring trend. When you look back over time, you can see that the tech industry has gradually been evolving to that. Whether you had an AIM or a Yahoo screen name back in the day, whether then you were able to create a Finsta, whether you were then able to express yourself in a new way using a face filter on Instagram or TikTok. This is the natural evolution of that, and Bored Ape Yacht Club proved that, and we see more and more NFT projects coming out there being a way for people to express themselves as with their Twitter avatar, Discord avatar. So Genies is taking that to the next level, where we're creating an entire avatar system around this idea. And it's not a single NFT you're buying, but you're buying a collection of NFTs that then become your avatar. You're able to remix them, and you're able to resell them, trade them, and you're able to really make it who you are. So this gives you the ultimate way to express who I am as a person in the digital and metaverse worlds.
I mean, in my opinion, it's, you know, like expressing ourselves is expressing, you know, and your social status is something like within the human nature. It's just like how, you know, you see how Facebook, how Instagram, they grow, you know, NFT, or, you know, some of the digital avatar, some of the crypto avatar, just a new evolved version of such expression, and it's just a new trend, as people still has the demand within their DNA, within their blood. Yeah, that's some of my opinion.
Okay, cool. Next question will be about the X Infinity. We know that this is also a super phenomenon in this year. So the question will be for Beryl, Roham, and Yat. So in your opinion, what makes Axie different compared to other games? And the second one, that's learning from Axie, what will be the key features that we should look into, like for future blockchain games, or games that will design with more gamifying mechanisms? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, happy to go first. So there are two factors that, in my opinion, that makes Axie really, successful today. One is the economics of Axie Infinity. So it does have a breeding component for these NFTs, and then its governance token, or in-game rewards. There's also a minting component, and you also have to destroy these in-game rewards called Smooth Love Potion to be able to breed NFTs, right? So the economics actually work because of that. And then the second part is, although on the first part there's a lot of there's still a room for improvement, right? But it's one of the very first games that have actually shown that an economics like Axie Infinity kind of works. And the second factor I see is adoption. So maybe I can give you a little bit more context on adoption. So I'm from the Philippines, and there's actually during the pandemic, exactly last year, a lot of people have lost jobs in the Philippines. Unemployment pre-pandemic in the Philippines was already 20-30% before the pandemic. And so due to lockdowns in the country, a number of people who had physical jobs, and these are the likes of factory workers, like factory workers, like drivers, taxi drivers, have actually lost jobs. And these people don't really have a lot of savings, in their bank accounts. They don't even have a bank account. And the pandemic has hit them really, really hard because they're unable to provide for their families. And now in a place like Cabanatuan City, where they've seen the first rise of Axie Infinity, and like it really spread really quickly within this area in the Philippines. There's like an entire family that had one mobile phone with internet connection, and they invested to buy 3 NFTs to be able to play the game Axie Infinity, and they were doing night shifts to be able to actually earn a living through earning by playing the game, spending time playing the game, and earning this in-game rewards called Smooth Love Potion. And they're able to convert Smooth Love Potion with this crypto exchanges into fiat. And they're able to actually put food on the table, even like milk for their kids and like babies, right? And it's become a phenomenon because people were desperate to make a living and to actually, buy food. And it spread really, really quickly because right now people start cashing out between $400 to $1,000 in 1 month. And that's much more than the minimum wage in the Philippines, which is $200. And so if you actually choose, should I actually stick to my old job, which is physical labor, right? Working under the sun almost the entire day for $200 versus just staying at home. I'm safe from COVID, from the pandemic, and I actually earn more from playing games. It's much more, they would choose it over anytime, right? Because it's much more appealing. So I guess like for metaverse games or play to earn games, it needs to have that particular component of providing that incentive through if I spend time into something, I also should get rewarded for something. I think that was a really important component for the adoption of play to earn games, particularly for emerging markets like the Philippines, Latin America, Africa, some parts of India. So that's my opinion.
Maybe I'll just quickly add a few things. So I think for Axie has been obviously a tremendous success, and I think maybe just a high level. It's really the successful combination of combining essentially capital and labor, which is really what we see in the real world, right? Where people who can own these digital assets may not have the time to actually generate reward from that, right? Because they can't, they don't have the time, but they've got money and are now willing to employ or outsource or revenue share with those that have the time but don't have the capital. And we see this happening, in the real world today, whether it's people renting real estate, whether it's people, driving, other people's cars or whatever that is, right? That sort of employment labor type market has essentially been replicated in Axie Infinity and many other play to earn games. But I think what's now interesting is that rather than necessarily looking at Axie Infinity as the particular role model, because all of them are evolving, what's really happened now is that Axie Infinity has created essentially, $1 billion of overall asset wealth, all of them generated by people who have generated much more money than they have ever before. From the context of the Philippines, for instance, or Venezuela, right? They're sitting on, basically almost like 6-month bonuses, right? Equivalent from their incomes. What do? Well, they actually are now looking at other play to earn games and looking at other platforms as well and emerging and hunting for new deals and so on. In the same way that, if you remember all the people who walk out from, their banking days and they have 6-month bonuses or 1-year bonuses, they go, what do? They don't just squirrel it away in some savings account. They go spend, right? They go spend or invest and do stuff. And so there's a real renaissance really across all play to earn type of games that is currently happening as a result of really sort of Axie Infinity generating this incredible wealth. And so the opportunity, I think, is still evolving in terms of what is the right model, because I think we're just so early. I mean, there's not even 2 million people that own NFTs, if that at all, right, in the world. But they've really sort of shown that, it's kind of, I describe it as like the Angry Birds moment for blockchain gaming, and now everyone else is looking in the space. So So lots more will happen in that area. So it's not just the way that Axie Infinity does it. New innovations will happen very quickly, we think.
Yeah. Rohan, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. It's agree with everything that's been said in the sense that, you know, in the future, if you spend your time, you should get something worth it. I just want to caution folks, and actually the biggest thing to me that Axie also showed through their move to Ronin, which is the, you know, a low fee sort of side chain, that it showed the power of you know, a low fee environment for games, and it's a relatively straightforward thing to sort of, you know, consider. But you know, CryptoKitties has been running on Ethereum, where it costs, you know, nearly $100 to breed cats sometimes. I don't, today it might be even more. And the concept that you move that same sort of experience where people can play to earn and compete and show off status, etc., but in a low fee environment where they're not wasting money on gas, I think it's very powerful. I just want to make sure folks that are developers out there have an eye towards sustainability, and the idea that if someone is paying for something, they should ideally be getting some social value, some enjoyment, some entertainment out of it, because, you know, if everybody's playing a game simply to make money and sort of chasing gains, that the music's going to stop at some point. And you know, especially when, you know, you're talking emerging economies, etc. The hope is that folks have been economically conscious the whole time, but sometimes that's not straightforward. So I think we as developers building an emerging technology have somewhat of a responsibility to shape where we want things to go, and whether it's in token economy design, etc., we need to pay attention to sustainability.
Awesome. Okay, due to time limited, we have to jump to our last questions. So I think because our title is the crypto and the NFT in Metaverse, present and the future, so I would like ask all our guests that looking to the future, what will be the Metaverse looks like in your mind, especially that it comes from the Web3 civilization and marching to the general populations. So could you give like a very short descriptions what would be looks like in your mind? I think we start with Yat. Thanks.
This is such a big question. But anyway, I guess I'll start with two, right? That I think, first of all, you know, there's like, you know, most of the world is playing games today. So we can complete, you know, 2.7 billion people play games. So the expectation we should really see is that the whole metaverse is basically, all of games are going to be sort of like moving to true metaverses. You're only going to want to play a game in which your time is rewarded at the end of the day, and where you own assets. So that to us is like an inevitable trend as far as we're concerned. And the second thing I think that will also happen is the overall financial knowledge and the sort of financification of games and metaverses, if you will sort of broaden and create an entirely new sort of new economic revolution overall, you know, sort of delivering trillions and trillions of new value and new economic opportunity. If you think of what Axie Infinity is doing, more people in the Philippines have a wallet on Ronin with SLP than a credit card, as an example. It's just an early beginning. But what are actually most of our children doing today? They're playing games. Those children are going to be playing those kind of games. They're going to learn about financial value. They're going to know about yield. They're going to know about debt or not to have it. They know how to make investments. And by the time they go to college, if they even have to go or want to go to college, have a portfolio. You know, it's ridiculous as far as I'm concerned that our children are learning about, you know, not learning about finance in school, and that the first experience for most of us actually is debt, which is an equivalent of servitude, indentured servitude, if you will, right? It's a horrible experience. And I think it creates sort of the way that we think of the world in terms of value and money when we start our experience with debt. So I think that will change because of NFTs and blockchain. That's why we're so excited about it. And the whole metaverse will hopefully develop into a much better space because of it.
I mean, like as an investor, I don't think I'm smart and visionary enough to really answer that question. Let's just see like how everything evolves, and like we'd love to back and stand with the most resilient and product driven, and people who can actually like evolve and grab the right opportunities in the market, and to really like empower them with the right resources, and help them accelerate and expand globally, especially like with the current crypto industry. The fascinating stuff is that everything is so global. You need everything like from not only like China, US, but also some other like countries like Korea, like Japan, right, like Southeast Asia, or even Africa. And with we're gonna try our best to help our portfolio, help those great founders not to be bugged by the government, or the licensing stuff. We're gonna help handle with that shit as well. So yeah, that's something like we think as an investor that something we should do. Yeah,
I love that. I just want to say, the future is going to be really exciting, but I would encourage everybody to be focused on the present, because things are moving super, super fast. The last sort of 8 months of this year have been pretty much like 8 years has happened, and I think that the next year or so is going to be really fast as well. And the reason is it's all software. We already have billions of phones in people's pockets. To Yat's point, billions of people already spend time and money and energy, and their identity is tied into digital worlds, whether it's on Facebook or inside Fortnite. And so the world is kind of ready for this moment right now, and it's kind of power to the people. And I think it's going to happen really, really quickly. So see you this time next year.
So on my end, I'd like to see more options, like more games where I could that actually meet different interests, for example. Or if I'm up in the mood for up something else, then I could actually just like jump into another game, right? It'll be great to see more interoperable games as well. So if I get to buy like my own NFTs, I get to use it in other game economies. That would be awesome. Yeah, and I think like with what Ronan actually said earlier, it's also important to see games that focus on sustainability, that have sustainable game economies.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how the metaverse leads to more people becoming creators. Because as multiple people here have mentioned, it diversifies the base of who's able to create, and it makes the bar for being a creator much lower. Just like AWS or any cloud computing enabled a new generation of companies who couldn't previously set up their own server farm. There's crypto NFTs in the metaverse going to enable a lot more creators to come from a lot more places, whether that's making your own game, making playable characters, making avatar wearables, making other experiences. And how will things shift from like core gaming into wider industries? When will the metaverse reach 1 billion people, 2 billion people, and how will that fundamentally affect society?
Cool. Thank you. I think because due to time limited, thanks everyone that we have great panels, and I think that's all for today. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kai.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.